Hey guys, top of the morning, Kish my world. Brand new day, brand new video. As I'm preparing to leave Sweden, you can see the weather is changing, the leaves are falling because we are getting into the season called the fall. And basically it comes from this particular reason, that the leaves are falling, so it's the fall. And it's gonna start getting very, very cold very soon. And I am planning to escape for a few months at least. I always like to escape during the winter time because it's too cold. So I like to go to warmer countries. So as soon as 2 weeks from now, I will be on the way to a warmer country for quite a good while. But as I was walking, I thought about something, As you know, I am born and raised in Kenya. And there's a huge difference between Kenya and like Sweden, where I am, especially in terms of the culture, the people. Man, like Kenya is so nice. The country is so beautiful. The culture, they have so much culture there. You make friends so easily. You can talk to strangers on the street. People are super friendly and open, and they just love life. On the other hand, in Europe, not just here in Sweden, but generally most of Europe, people are so uptight, If like now I come from work, I can't even talk to my colleagues. Yesterday, I work in Denmark, and I was with a colleague at work, and we just, talk at work and everything. Then I didn't know we live in the same area, and we were in the same train. But in the train, she saw me, and she was like, you could tell she doesn't want to make that contact of like traveling together and speaking and just having social. So life here, social life is so boring. It's so bad that you can't even have after work meetings with your colleagues. The friends that you have to plan meetings. You can't just meet anyone. Like life is just up and rush. And probably we don't even live life as it's supposed to be lived, like in the Western, like in the African countries, or like in countries like in Asia and such like that, the developing countries. And it's a bit sad, But this made me think of a story that happened about a year ago, actually, on October 30th, 2019. So it was a day just like this one, a time like this one almost. And there's this lady who left her house early in the morning. She has a daughter. The daughter by then was like 7 years old. Dropped the daughter off in school. Then she drove into work, and she worked the whole day until when she finished around 3 o'clock. And when she finished her work, she went back to pick her daughter. It's worth mentioning that this lady was pregnant, and the pregnancy was 7 months. Ladies, they have the pregnancy for 9 months. So she was 7 months in. I don't know how many weeks that is, but I know it's months, 7 months. So this lady, the pregnant lady, with her daughter, she picks up her daughter. They go to the grocery store, buy a few items, some milk, some bread and stuff like that. And then they now go home. They used to live in an apartment just like these ones here, with 3 floors, 1, 2, 3. And this is the back side, and she parked her car exactly in a place like this. Then they had to go into the house, and they were going through the back entry of the house. So this lady and her daughter, they're just walking in normal life, like normal. The daughter has a small phone that she uses to communicate with her mom in case of anything, so at least it had minutes. So as they're walking, they park their car on the street, and then they decide to go up the house just to take the stairs, because it's 3 floors, no need for a lift. And as soon as they get into the bottom floor, the lady falls to the ground and screams, lets out a very, very powerful, heartfelt scream from the heart. And she's lying on the floor. There is blood on the floor spilling over. the milk and the bread that have been thrown on the side, and a pool of blood is laying on the ground. And the lady looks down and she sees that she was bleeding from beneath. Her water had broken from the pregnancy and there was blood coming out. She goes into panic mode immediately. She can't move. She's in so much pain. And the daughter was just a few steps up in front of her, walking, and the daughter hears the mom screaming and very, very quickly looks down, reacts, and sees the mom on the floor screaming, crying out loud. So immediately, thanks to what we call the social awareness of these countries, in school, like all kids are usually taught about emergency response and stuff like that. So the emergency number here in all of Europe, it's one number. They've centralized it. It's 112. So at least the 7-year-old already senses danger and she knows something is about to go down. So she calls 112. And on the other side, they answer. Here they answer almost instantly. So 911, what's your emergency? And they hear it's a small girl, 7 years old. Hey, my mom has fallen down. She's bleeding and she's pregnant. Immediately when that happens, there's something called dispatch. They already start setting people up to know what's happened. So the next big question that the operator asks, the 911 operator asks, is where are you? What's your address? What's your location? And of course, the lady or the girl, she knows where they are, at least because they were in their house. She knew where they were, the area, what it was called. So she tells them. And the beauty of the systems here is that as soon as she does that, they immediately send out the most available unit. Now, the system here is so centralized because if you call the emergency line, 3 units get dispatched or they get connected, depending on what you're saying. The police, the ambulance, and the fire brigade, the firefighters. So immediately they know what the situation is and how to assess it. And they send out troops immediately. The closest police, the closest ambulance, and the dispatch, fire dispatch is also released. So as she's talking with this lady, she's like, okay, tell me what has happened. The lady on the phone. So the little girl is like, oh, we were coming home. She's on the floor. She's screaming. They're like, can she speak? She's like, yeah, but there's blood everywhere. She can't talk. She's just screaming, blah, 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 all these things. It doesn't go so long. It takes an average of 7 to 9 minutes, let me say, before the ambulance arrives right there where they're still on phone with a little girl. And police come, the ambulance come. The ambulance actually, some arrived first, then the police came, and the fire people came. And the ambulance ran quickly to see how the mother is doing and how the unborn child is doing. The police, they cordon off the road, and the firefighters, the fire brigade, sorry about that, they're on standby just in case something happens, or maybe they can't open. They usually come because maybe you can't enter the door, maybe you can't enter the gate, so they have to break it down. They have the equipment, maybe they have to go through the window. So the dispatch always releases these 3 people simultaneously, and all 3 people are trained on emergency response, first aid in case of anything. They know exactly what to do. So anyways, the ambulance comes, the paramedics take her inside the ambulance. It's like a mini hospital. They take the blood pressure, they take the vitals, they see how much the damage is, and they relay the information to the closest hospital from where they are. Immediately the police, they close off the area to oncoming traffic and hit the highway pave way on the highway to get all the way to the hospital, making sure that there's no distraction. And I'm gonna tell you why all this is relevant. Anyways, she gets to the hospital, and as they drive into the parking in the hospital, there's a group of dispatch, a group of 2 sets of medical practitioners, like maybe 4 doctors, a bunch of nurses. They're there ready and waiting with everything that they need. And as soon as the ambulance pulls into the hospital, the doctors are already armed and everything. They quickly roll her into surgery, split open her stomach. She's been receiving morphine this time in the ambulance. So immediately she comes, they open her stomach, the C-section, pull out the baby, put the baby in the special units, and take the baby to be treated with a set of 2 doctors in one room, and the mom is being treated in the other room with her own set of doctors and nurses. Long story short, both the mom and the baby survived. The baby was so young, like he came so early. A baby who was meant to be born after 9 months, which is the normal gestation period for human beings, came slightly before 7 weeks. So you can imagine how early it came. 1.2 kilos the baby weighed. But everything worked out super great. At the end, the mom lived to tell, the baby lived to tell, and everything is okay up to this day. 4 years later, the kid is turning 4 years in 1 month. Same scenario, guys. It's like a paradox happening. In November, in Kenya, same scenario happens. A guy is at work, and then he comes home, and his woman is leaving work, like around maybe the same time. But this time round, she's also like almost the same pregnant. Maybe she was a bit higher. Maybe she was like 7 months, maybe 8 months in. Yeah, she was like 8 months, so 1 month early. But still, her water breaks in the middle of nowhere, no warning, no nothing. And the woman summons the husband, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's so bad, I'm in pain, blah blah blah. The first thing the husband does, they are a middle income home, so immediately he rushes to the neighbors and calls the neighbor. Hey, my neighbor, come, please help me, my wife she's dying, oh, the baby is coming, it's not unexpected, And the neighbor comes, they help lift the mom up, and they put her in a car just like this one here, a normal SUV. They put her in the car, the husband's car, and they drive super fast into the hospital. But on the way, there's traffic, there's people obstructing the roads, there's not good lighting, there's all these things that's happening. And in case of any complication, it would have turned tragic. And the problem is, you can't call the ambulance, because when you call the ambulance, by the time they arrive, it might be too late. The best bet is, if you have a car like this guy had, just throw the mom and her baby in the car and drive as much as you can into the hospital. In case of anything, police stop you, they'll understand, but you just have to do what you gotta do to save the lives here. Luckily enough, they made it with no problems. They get into the hospital, and the mom is rushed into the theater to be operated on. The CS, exactly the same like the one here in Sweden. And as they are in there, as soon as they get in there, they check her vitals, try to make sure she's okay, she's resuscitated. Then when the dad is sitting out there very worried, they come and they ask him, so how are you gonna finance this emergency? We need to know how you'll finance this. We need to know if you have insurance. Do you have cash? Do you have this or this or this or this? Yeah, so that's the first question that pops up after, just the basic questions like, how are you? And good thing is, this guy had an okay income or an okay job, so he survives. He is able to reassure them that he's gonna be able to pay for the payment, and he gives them like assets and liabilities and insurances. And the baby survives also, and the mom survives, and they're doing all well. But the guy is left short with a bill of 500,000 Kenyan shillings, which is about, what is that, like 5,000, about 5,000 US dollars, because of the emergency of the baby. So these are two scenarios in two different countries, and you can see the outcomes are very, very different already. One of them, the treatment was like super quick, the response and everything. And the other one, you have to take charge of yourself and pray that God is on your side, because chances of survival are slim. Now I want to give you a third scenario, which is a makeshift scenario, which is a scenario of somebody living in the village in Kenya. Because these things can happen to anyone, people in the first world, in the second world, or wherever, or maybe in some village somewhere else, you know. And probably these people, where they are living in the village, they don't have cars. They probably use like motorcycles to get to and fro, which is very common in the villages. And hospitals are not as close as the ones in Nairobi in Kenya or here in Sweden. So imagine a woman also has the same breakdown, and the baby is coming early, she falls down, it's bleeding and everything. The alternative they have is to put the woman in a bicycle or a motorcycle, and by God's grace, somehow if she manages to sit in that motorcycle, the nearest hospital is so far, so they have to take her to like a clinic or sub-clinic with no proper equipment. These sub-clinics are usually used for like doing small things like treating malaria and common cold, and you know, just small diseases. So they have to refer them to like level 1 or level 2 hospitals for emergencies, which takes very, very long and very, very costly. Case in point, the same thing. This woman and child, I don't think any of them would have survived had it been in that scenario. And that brings me to my point why I love Africa so much, but it's a bit difficult for me to move back to Africa. This is because of these things called systems. Man, we have the best life, the best weather, the best people, the best of everything in life. But it's things like this that make me actually scared of wanting to move there permanently, because you might be even doing well financially, you might be making a lot of money, have you know, fancy cars there, all this and that, but the systems, man, they are so crazy. Because you can imagine here, this lady who was here would have died because it was really bad, you know, the pool of blood, everything. But the response took 7 to 9 minutes. I'm not really sure, but between 7 to 9 minutes for the paramedics to arrive, give her the help that they needed and all vitalities to keep her and the baby alive. The second option, you do not have any paramedics, so it's by God's grace that they survived. And also after all that, you have to be slapped by a bill of 5,000 US dollars. Oh, I forgot to say, in the first scenario here in Sweden, not a single dime was asked, not a single cent. That's the power of free medical care. Like, yeah, the baby actually was put in what is it called, an incubator. So in the settings, as if it's the settings of the stomach, same warmth, same conditions, until the time when he was actually supposed to be born. So he stayed there for 2 months. Him and their mom admitted in the hospital, but every day they are being fed, they're being, you know, taken care of, they're being looked after 24 hours a day for absolutely 0 shillings, $0, 0 krona, free, because of the systems of a country that has planned itself. And the other scenario, just the operation, the C-section, taking out the baby, set them back $5,000 and in the third situation probably it would have set you back a lot of money still, and you would have lost both the mom and the baby. Both of them, or have one and save one, you never know, but it's very, very common. And it's a lot of other situations that happen that makes you feel like, yeah, you know, our African countries are good, but we need to get our shit together actually, because we have the resources, we have the power, and we have the finances and everything, but the structures are just not good enough and people don't really care about them. So this is the reason why it keeps me staying here. Yeah, because at least you have some sort of security, you have some sort of, you know, framework, and we keep developing home, but we have the fear. So like one of the things I would really love is to move to an African country, one of these African countries. Man, we have so much fun, we have so much community, so much life, but sometimes you wonder at what cost. You know, you are one episode away from disaster. I don't know, guys, I was just sharing my thoughts as I was coming home. I was thinking about this, and let me know in the comment section, like, why do you think our African countries or our developing countries, because I have audiences from different parts of Africa, from places like the Caribbean also, they have systems like in Africa also, you know, they don't really prioritize these things. Why do you think it is like that? Well, it is very much possible to have something else happen. And the very, very rich people in like those countries, they afford all these things, because I know like people who get medical emergencies when they are billionaires, they airlift their people actually. They pay for the helicopter rides to the hospitals and everything. But how many people are billionaires? Sad to see. So the common person, the common me and yous, are we that suffer a lot. So yeah, that's been my food for thought for today, as I prepare on my next journey, as we prepare to change the world and change lives one step at a time. But that's just something that I thought to share with you guys as I reach here, and I hope you've learned something. And these scenarios I'm giving you actually are real life situations. It's not like it's makeshift or anything, but it's things that I've actually myself witnessed and passed through. So yeah, I hope you've learned something, or I hope I've talked some sense, because I was walking home and I haven't connected with you guys. But yeah, guys, just remember, next week we are traveling to Asia, man. I'm so excited about Asia. I'm gonna be there for a while. I've never been to this corner. I've actually been to this corner, but I've never been to these countries. It's gonna be like all new countries for me. It's gonna be several countries. Man, I'm so excited. So let me know, which countries do you think I'll be going to? I'd love to know, what do you think? Which countries am I gonna be traveling to in the next couple of weeks? Yeah. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn your post notification on, because it's gonna be amazing videos, culture, food, you know, exploring, meeting people, vibes, nightlife, everything. All right, guys, time to call it a day. Top of the morning, Kish My World. See you in the next one. That is it.